The 2016 film Gods of Egypt presents an epic tale set in the mythical ancient Egypt, a world where gods and humans coexist. The story follows the struggle between order and chaos when Set, the ruthless god of darkness and the desert, overthrows his brother Osiris and seizes the Egyptian throne. His nephew Horus, the disgraced god of the sky, is stripped of his powers and must find a way to reclaim what was taken from him. He is aided by Bek, a resourceful young thief who, despite being mortal, has the courage and determination to challenge the gods in order to save his beloved. As Horus and Bek face perilous trials, they encounter powerful allies and deadly enemies, journeying through magnificent cities, the underworld, and the vast expanse of the heavens. In this spectacular adventure, the fate of Egypt, its gods, and its people rests on their bravery and resolve. In ancient Egypt, gods live among mortals and rule the land. They are easily recognizable as they are much taller than ordinary people, have golden blood, and can transform into various terrifying beasts. Osiris is the king of all the lands made fertile by the Nile, while his brother Set rules over the arid deserts, which has made him bitter and resentful. Eventually, Osiris decides to pass the throne to his son, Horus, who is in a relationship with the goddess Hathor. Horus loves her so much that he gifts her one of Egypt's greatest treasures, the Bracelet of 42 Stars, which has the power to contain demons. On the day of the coronation, everyone gathers for the celebration, including all the gods and every mortal in the city. Among them are Zaya and her boyfriend Bek, a thief who does not hesitate to steal luxurious items to make his beloved happy and perhaps one day escape with her. Zaya tells Bek that the dress she is trying on is awful and that she needs to decorate it with ribbons to make it look suitable for the coronation. He gives her something he stole from a merchant to help embellish the dress. Zaya looks stunning, and Bek suggests that they run away together. He promises her a life fit for a princess, a new dress every day, and even a golden palace. Bek would do anything to make Zaya happy. After all the gods have paid their respects and the mortals have presented their gifts, Osiris gives a speech and prepares to place the crown on Horus's head. However, Set arrives, pretending to bring a gift, but soon fills the hall with his own army. He then hands Osiris the staff their father once gave them, demanding a fight, believing it is his turn to rule. Osiris refuses to battle his own brother, so Set kills him on the spot and declares himself the new king of Egypt. His first new law is that the afterlife will no longer be easily accessible. People must now pay their way with wealth. Horus disagrees and immediately challenges Set to avenge his father. Both are highly skilled warriors of equal ability, so they transform into metal beasts and continue their battle in the skies. To aid their master, Set's soldiers use their shields to reflect sunlight and blind Horus, giving Set the opportunity to defeat him and take his eyes. Set is ready to finish Horus off, but Hathor intervenes, offering herself to Set in exchange for Horus's life. Accepting her offer, Set spares Horus, but banishes him. A year later, most of Egypt has been enslaved by Set, and the people can no longer afford passage to the afterlife. Some gods have tried to defeat him and save the kingdom, but all have perished, while Hathor continues to play the role of a devoted lover in order to survive. Zaya is now a slave to Set's chief architect, Urshu, who is constructing the tallest obelisk Egypt has ever seen. Bek has been assigned to hard labor, but whenever he gets the chance, he sneaks into Urshu's office to visit Zaya. One afternoon, Zaya shows Bek that Set's army is returning with spoils from war, meaning his treasury will be unlocked that evening, the perfect moment for Bek to sneak in and steal Horus's eyes. To help him, Zaya steals the pyramid's blueprints from Urshu and replaces them with a blank scroll. Set now dominates Hathor, forcing her to please him and his great feline to avoid the fate of other slaves, or worse, likely death. Better a golden cage than no cage at all. When night falls, Bek leaps from a rooftop onto a chariot carrying gold, which is soon dumped into the treasury. Inside, he uses the stolen blueprints to avoid most of the traps, but accidentally triggers one and discovers an unexpected third bridge not shown in the plans. Fortunately, Bek is quick and agile, dodging every danger until he reaches a statue guarding one of Horus's eyes. As he takes the eye, he falls into a pit filled with scorpions, but the eye's light keeps them at bay. By morning, Beck returns to see Zeya, but Urshu has discovered the blueprint swap and is waiting with a group of guards. Beck uses the eye to blind them and manages to escape with Zeya. However, as they flee in a chariot, Urshu fires an arrow from a balcony, striking and killing Zeya. Moments later, Beck arrives at the temple where Horus is hiding and furiously attacks him with a staff for not immediately reviving Zeya. Beck demands that Horus bring her back in exchange for returning his eye. Horus agrees to try, but his efforts are in vain. She is not just wounded, she is truly dead, and he has no power over mortality. Horus calls upon Anubis, the god of death, who takes Zeya's soul to the underworld for judgment. Beck panics, knowing she won't be able to pay the toll for the afterlife. After Horus retrieves his eye, Beck proposes a deal. If Horus finds a way to save Zeya, Beck will guide him through the pyramid to retrieve his other eye. Horus agrees, realizing that regaining his full strength could give him an advantage in reclaiming the throne. With their goals set, they hide Zeya's body in the temple and set off on their journey. Meanwhile, Set sends his army to attack another god's stronghold after learning about the missing eye. By the time Set arrives at Horus's temple, his nephew is already gone, but he finds Zeya's body and takes her necklace before ordering his men to track Horus down. Horus and Beck are currently climbing a mountain, as Horus cannot transform without both of his eyes and needs help to defeat Set. When they reach the summit, Horus pleads with his grandfather, the sun god Ra, for a blessing that temporarily restores his ability to transform. With his newfound strength, he flies with Beck toward the solar divine barge where Ra resides. Ra's duty is to battle the shadow beast Apophis every day, preventing it from consuming Egypt. He refuses to interfere in Set's conflict, believing in neutrality when it comes to his sons and not wanting to take sides. However, he allows Horus to fill a flask with the celestial water that surrounds the barge. Back in Egypt, the last surviving gods have retreated behind their fortified walls. Hathor asks Set if she must kill his ex-wife, and he tells her that in the future, this is how he will solve problems. The fact that she is his ex-wife only adds another reason to kill her. Set approaches his ex-wife, who tells him that ever since he became king, there has been an enormous demand for burial shrouds. Set tells her that she could have been queen and asks why she ever agreed to marry him. She recalls when he rode out of the desert, untamed, energetic, and incredibly handsome. She defied the harsh winds just to be with him and imagined the great deeds they would accomplish together. Set admits that not everything was bad in their relationship, some parts were sweet. She tells him that she should have been enough to make him happy, but Set replies that nothing can fulfill him. She spreads her wings and tells him that this is why Ra wisely ensured she could never bear a child. She tries to fly away, but he grabs one of her wings, draws his sword, and cuts it off, likely killing her afterward, though that scene is not shown. On the solar barge, Ra temporarily grants Horus the power to fly back with Beck, but as they near the ground, Horus loses his strength and they crash land clumsily. Their next task is to use the flask of celestial water to weaken the desert, which would significantly diminish Set's power. However, before doing so, Horus sends Beck to collect ordinary drinking water from a nearby waterfall. While near the falls, Beck is ambushed by Set's Minotaur army, led by Nevis. Fortunately, Horus arrives just in time to rescue him and swiftly defeats the soldiers. However, Nevis only pretends to be dead, waiting for the right moment to strike. As Horus and Beck lower their guard, Nevis pushes them off the waterfall before making his escape. The only reason they survive the fall is Horus's staff, which helps them break their descent. Meanwhile, Nevis returns to Set, but his failure enrages the god, who kills him on the spot and instead sends his most powerful hunters after Horus. Set plans to conquer the underworld and seeks Hathor's help to get there. As the former advisor to the dead, the goddess of love knows the path to the underworld. Though she does not want to help Set grow even more powerful, She is forced to obey his commands to stay alive. However, that afternoon, Hathor uses her powers to locate Horus, longing to reunite with the one she truly loves. This act of defiance does not go unnoticed. Set catches her and, feeling betrayed, prepares to attack his wife. Realizing her life is in danger, Hathor removes her bracelet, allowing herself to be pulled into the underworld, where she is met by a legion of demons. Once she puts the bracelet back on, she successfully teleports to the desert and sets off in search of her former lover. At Osiris's tomb, Bek and Horus take a break on their journey back to the city. Suddenly, Set's hunters arrive, riding giant serpents. In his current state, Horus is vulnerable to their venom, making direct combat dangerous. Bek quickly devises a plan. He will act as bait while Horus hides among the ruins. When the snake gets close, Horus will launch a surprise attack. The plan works. Horus manages to stab one of the snakes, but he misses its weak spot, leaving his staff lodged in the serpent's mouth. On the second attempt, Bek runs even farther, allowing Horus to leap onto the snake and take down its rider. This causes the creature to lose control and plummet off a cliff. The remaining serpent still needs to be dealt with, but at that moment, Hathor arrives. Using her command over beasts, she retrieves Horus's staff and forces the snake to set itself on fire. The trio escapes, but Horus is not pleased to see Hathor, considering her a traitor. He does not understand that she had to align with Set to survive. Meanwhile, Bek explains their plan to retrieve Horus's second eye, revealing that he saw the pyramid's blueprints. However, Hathor informs them of something they didn't know. The pyramid is guarded by a sphinx that kills anyone who cannot solve its riddle. Horus decides to seek the help of the god of wisdom. On their way, he constantly argues with Hathor about her past choices. Frustrated by his lack of understanding, Hathor chooses to talk to Bek instead. She is shocked when he tells her about Horus's promise to bring Zeya back. Reviving her should be impossible, but for now, Hathor keeps her thoughts to herself. A few moments later, the trio arrives at Thoth's temple, which is filled with countless copies of the god, since he only trusts himself. Thoth initially refuses to accompany them, suggesting they bring the riddle to him instead. However, this could put one of them at risk of death. Bek quickly changes Thoth's mind by appealing to his ego, claiming he would tell the Sphinx that Thoth was too afraid to answer. Not wanting his intelligence questioned, Thoth agrees to join them. As the four set out for the pyramid, Hathor takes the opportunity to confront Horus about the promise he made to Bek, bringing Zeya back from the dead. She warns him that such a thing is impossible. However, Horus feels no guilt, believing that the lie serves a greater purpose in their mission. When they arrive at the pyramid's outskirts, Horus decides to wait until nightfall to move unseen. While they prepare, Thoth reminds Horus that Hathor only became Set's consort to save her own life. Meanwhile, Zeya uses her magic in the underworld to manipulate the sand, showing Bek an image of herself standing in line, awaiting judgment. Since Hathor once guided souls to the afterlife, she has the ability to communicate with the dead. She allows Bek to send Zeya a message about his struggle to bring her back, but their connection is suddenly cut off by Anubis. At nightfall, the group approaches the pyramid and discovers that it is constantly shifting. Bek randomly picks a door and leaps inside, navigating a moving bridge that leads him to a mechanism. By turning a wheel, he halts the entire structure, allowing the rest of the group to enter safely. They finally reach the Sphinx together. However, when it poses its riddle, Thoth, despite being the god of wisdom, incorrectly answers. The Sphinx immediately turns aggressive and prepares to attack. Bek and Hathor retreat, while Horus holds the Sphinx, and Thoth continues offering possible solutions until he finds the correct one. The correct answer destroys the Sphinx, and the group is free to approach the center of the pyramid where they need to pour the water, but a trap awaits them. Hathor and Horus are caught in a cage, and Set suddenly arrives, stealing Thoth's brain. Bek grabs the bottle, planning to continue with the plan, but Set stops him by showing Zeya's necklace and explaining that Horus lied. Bek isn't sure who to trust, but that brief moment of hesitation is enough for Set to steal the bottle and destroy it. After that, Set leaves, hoping the pyramid will collapse and kill them, but Horus manages to open the cage and saves his friends using the wheel as protection. Outside the pyramid, Bek accuses Horus of his lies and concludes that the gods don't care about their people. Hathor feels they must make up for all the lies to Bek and summons Anubis to offer herself in exchange for Anubis' permission for Bek to journey to the underworld. Anubis agrees, and Hathor kisses Horus before being taken away, leaving her bracelet so Bek can protect himself from demons. Bek reaches the underworld thanks to the bracelet and begins searching for Zaya in the line in front of the gates, where the wealthy can pay for the afterlife, while the poor vanish. Meanwhile, Set strengthens his beastly transformation by adding Thoth's brain, Osiris' heart, Horus' eye, and Nephthys' wings to his magical armor. He then flies to the solar bark to take revenge on his father for banishing him to the desert. Ra explains that he misunderstood and was never biased, as this has always been a test. He gave Osiris crown, and when the time came, he knew he had to pass on that power, so he passed his test. Set received the desert as a test of patience because Ra wants his son to take over the bark one day. This enrages Set, as he doesn't want to be trapped spending eternity fighting worms in the cosmos, so he attacks his father. Ra retaliates with his solar beam, which no god should survive, but Set now possesses the power of multiple gods and manages to defeat Ra before letting Apophis roam freely. In the underworld, Bek finds Zaya and tries to give her the bracelet so she can pay for her afterlife, but an attack by Apophis interrupts them, forcing Anubis to close the gates for now. Zaya convinces Bek to give Horus a second chance, and Bek uses the bracelet to return to Egypt, reuniting with Horus once more. The chariot sent by Nephthys takes the two of them back to the city, where Set arrives with Ra's spear and, standing on top of the obelisk, commands Apophis to attack the Nile, the source of life. Horus and Bek kidnap Urshu so the architect can take them inside the obelisk. As Horus climbs, Horus and Urshu take the lift and end up in a fight. Their struggle knocks over the torch, and the lift catches fire, so Bek ties his rope to the wall and jumps just before the lift is consumed by flames, falling while taking Urshu with him. At the top of the obelisk, Horus finds Set and starts a new battle. Set thinks he's winning, but Horus is only a decoy while Bek sneaks in for a surprise attack. Putting on his armor, Set attacks Bek, who removes the eye from his helmet before being pushed by Set. Bek throws the eye to Horus, but the god decides to do the right thing and save Bek instead of the eye. Horus apologizes to Bek for everything before finally transforming back into his beastly form, as good deeds, not greed, determine your worth. After safely leaving Bek on the ground, Horus returns to the fight with Set inside the obelisk, and by striking the walls, he manages to bring the building down and hit Set. When Set hits the ground, Horus kills him with Ra's spear. After that, Horus flies to the solar bark and returns Ra's spear, which immediately restores his strength. Ra wastes no time battling Apophis and sends him back to where he came from, allowing Anubis to reopen the gates. Horus returns to Egypt and receives his second eye from a child who picked it up from the ground. Then, Horus checks on Bek, only to discover that Set's blow has wounded him and the boy is dying before his eyes. Overwhelmed with grief, Horus carries Bek's body to his temple so he can be with Zaya. At that moment, Ra arrives and revives the young couple as a token of gratitude to Horus for his help. A few days later, Egypt is full of life once again. All people are freed, and Horus is finally officially crowned king by Thoth. The first thing he does is correct the rules of the afterlife. Good deeds will determine whether one passes through, not wealth. Bek is appointed as the king's chief advisor, and he returns the bracelet to Horus so he can travel to the underworld and rescue Hathor.